Hello, Notre Dame fans. Welcome into the Notre Dame football show from blueandgold.com. I am Ashton Pollard, and as always, I am joined by Mike Singer and Tim Hyde. How are we doing, everyone?
Excellent. It's a great
Good.
night for the Fighting Irish.
It is. On that topic, you've probably noticed that we're coming to you a little later than we normally are. We were waiting for Cam Williams, the four-star 2024 wide receiver, to commit, and we're going to get into that in a minute too. But we're going to start off with our typical two segments that we begin with. So, Tim, what beer are you drinking if you're drinking beer?
And a shot. He's got a shot of two tigers for sure, right?
Well, I was getting there. Yes, yes, yes.
Well, my beer it goes to the gentleman today that called me out for Coors Banquet. So I poured one for him today from the
In the
message
in the
board. So
in the vodka soda thread on our message board right now. Yeah, good time.
yes,
Mike, how about you? What are you drinking?
So I got Uno Topo Chico,
Is that
and
the
I got my
Uno?
backup Toco Chico when I finished Uno. I
Oh,
got
good.
those.
Okay.
You
Sorry, Tim.
know,
I forgot about your shot too. We can talk about that
oh yeah,
if
Tim,
you
you
have
got your shot?
not tonight.
it.
Not
All right,
tonight.
y'all,
I
y'all
forgot it.
switch roles. Mike is pounding drinks over there. Just kidding.
Man, it's
Drinking
right.
water, by the way.
It's very
What?
busy. I mean,
I'm
uh,
not judging.
no, 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 no.
You're
I
not
know,
gonna
I
get a
know.
judgment from me. I don't
So
care.
my job is like flip flopped from like Patrick and Tyler at Blue and Gold, who strictly just cover like Notre Dame football, of course, and
Right.
other sports too. But like August to December, and then maybe January 1st is like that's their season. For me, the actual football season, man, I don't. I mean, it's a little bit more chill for me. It's a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
Um, which I enjoy going out to games on Friday nights, but I mean, it's not super busy. Notre
No.
Dame really wants to wrap up about 80%, 90% of its class. Of course, they would want it to be 100, but realistically, Notre Dame would like to be about done with
Yeah.
2023 recruiting by the start of the season and then just kind of focus on 24s and 25s. So it's just a lot of game day visits. And when Notre Dame has a bye week, I love those weeks. It's very
Yeah.
nice.
No, that's fair. Yeah, and we're gonna get into some of those 2023 potential commits. I like the alcohol pregame show. Thank you very much. All right. Yeah, like I said, I'm drinking water. I'm being boring, sorry. But so second segment that we normally start with, the best thing you saw this week. If you are not familiar with this show, first of all, why not? But second of all, we start the show every week with something related to Notre Dame. It doesn't have to be football related, but I will go ahead and turn it over to Tim first. Tim, what was the best thing you saw on Notre Dame athletics this week?
Well, mine was the picture of the. Well, Mike's got the D lineman here. D lineman and the O line. They each had some
Yeah, they're
pictures
both.
out there. Obviously recruiting Charles Jagasaw on the O line, and this one was here for Jason Moore. So I think it looks clean. The pictures that went out, the edits, the on the O line and the D lineman, I thought they looked sharp as could be. So this is it's a good looking group of five. You get Jason Moore in there, and obviously with Big Charles Jagasaw, hopefully coming to Notre Dame here shortly, you get Big Five on the O line. So it can be a heck of a line class on both sides, which goes back to what Marcus Freeman's talked about since he's been hired about winning the run game, stopping the run, being the most physical team on Saturday. So it starts with those big boys.
Yeah, from left to right in this picture, you got Brennan Vernon, Devin Houston, Jason Moore, Bubakar Traore, and then Keon Keeley. Yeah, if that's not a good looking group of defensive linemen, I mean,
Oh,
look at that hair. Brennan Vernon's got the locks. I mean, that is fantastic. Brennan Vernon's probably one of the most unique players I've ever covered. Um, I'm not talking about just him as a young man. I don't even know how to describe him. He's just awesome. Brennan Vernon's a treat of a human being. Um, I mean, you guys will get to see him. When
well,
if you're
That
if you have I was going to say, if you have a D line and they're all in single digits, that is nothing but positives. So if these dudes could pull off these numbers, let's do it, man. It's going to be awesome.
Rick says the true athletes.
Yes.
I know Rick, and I think that he might be the only person who's a bigger fan of Jason Moore than you are, Tim. So
Oh, okay. I like that. Cheers to Rick. Good stuff.
love it.
my turn.
Um, yes, it is your
All
turn.
right, we were talking about this a little before we started recording. I've been getting petty lately. Look, I did not grow up a Notre Dame fan like Ashton and Tim. I've been covering Notre Dame recruiting for just a little over 3 years now, and so like my Notre Dame following it's different. I did not grow up hating Michigan. I had no problems with Michigan, but I'm starting to kind of I get it. I get it, Notre Dame fans. I'm enjoying not only the recruiting success of Notre Dame. It's been a lot of fun, but on the other hand, Michigan they're struggling. So this is from my 5 thoughts on Cam Williams' commitment, and we'll have a segment on him just in a moment here. Look at this highlighted portion here. Let me read this to you for podcast audience. Of the Wolverines' 7 commitments, I really hope there's not a typo in here, in the 2023 and 2024 classes, I think it's 6 and 23, and then they just have 1 and 24. Notre Dame has not offered any of them. Wow. Of Notre Dame's 20 verbals, Michigan's offered 16. So Notre Dame has 15 in the 2023 class and 5 in the 2024 class. And then I continue to write, those are not opinions I'm offering. They're just straight facts. Notre Dame is bullying Michigan. Let me reiterate this. Notre Dame's not recruiting any of the Michigan commits, or wasn't. I mean, they hosted a couple of them for visits, but never offered. Meanwhile, Michigan wanted all 16 of 20 Notre Dame's commitments. That's what, 80%, including CJ Carr, who is Michigan royalty. Preston Zinter's older brother, Paul, plays at Michigan.
Starts.
Yeah. Brandon Davis Swain from Michigan. Cam Williams grew up a Michigan fan and disliked the Fighting Irish. I asked Cam, I was able to interview him a few days ago, and I said, if I would have talked to you in March and said, hey, at the end of June, you're going to commit to Notre Dame, would that surprise you? And he said, yeah, for 3 reasons. 1, I grew up Michigan fan. 2, I don't like Notre Dame, or didn't like Notre Dame. Obviously, now he does. And 3, he didn't think he was going to make a decision this early, but he fell in love with Notre Dame that fast. Got his offer from the Irish May 5th, and 5 weeks later tells the staff he's committing. That's awesome.
It's going to be the all-time most liked segment on this podcast.
I'm not done. I just remembered. I got another thing.
Perfect.
So this is my tweet yesterday.
Oh my God.
Here's Michigan's. I don't know if this has changed. I don't think they've gotten any new commitments. In the past day.
Mike, didn't they just lose their highest ranked guy?
Yeah. So I tweeted this last night after Raylan Wilson, who was the one who Notre Dame did offer, but then he decommitted. He's probably going to go to Georgia. So Michigan has the number 36 class in the country with its 6 commitments. Now, I hope I do a decent job explaining this. Like Rivals in 24/7, how they do their team rankings, it's very much what is your class right now. On 3, it's an average, so it's a little bit more of a projection of how good the class is, a quality thing rather than quantity, right? So Texas Tech early in the cycle had the number 1 class because they just had the most commits, whereas they didn't add on 3 because it's a quality over quantity thing. So I think at Rivals, Michigan's like below Eastern Michigan or something because it's a quantity thing. So they're in the 70s or something. So it's not great for the Wolverines right now, and we'll see how the rest of the class goes.
Is this? Are you done now?
No, this is a great comment.
You want to go again?
Rick says, I forgot about this. Bellamy, what's his first name? From
Jayden?
Yeah, no, not Jalen, but it's the Ron Bellamy. Was West Bloomfield's high school coach when Brandon Davis was a freshman, and doesn't commit to Michigan, commits to Notre Dame. So good point, Rick.
Very good. Yes, I'm staying away from commenting fully on this, but you can probably
embrace it. Embrace it. Are you loving it? You love that though, right?
Next segment, please pull up my tweet. Thank you very much.
Real quick on that, real quick, Mike. It's fascinating because Notre Dame Michigan's been a top 10 recruiting power for ages and would go head to head with Notre Dame for so many of their guys. And it's legendary the way Les Miles used to be the most negative recruiter. It's been documented in many stories about him during Bo's day. He was the anti-Notre Dame guy and would just attack the heck out of guys getting recruited by ND. And then Moeller was that guy. Lloyd Carr. Then Lloyd obviously becomes the head coach. But it's crazy for a team that goes to the Final Four and just they're struggling out there. They are struggling out there, and that's okay. I'm a big believer in karma, so I'm trying not to say too much. But luckily, hey, what comes around goes around. I'm just
karma. What does karma got to do with this?
Hey, I don't want to talk too much smack. Let Michigan stay low. Let Michigan stay low. Just enjoy it. Sit back and enjoy it. That's the way I look at it. But hey, but Notre Dame hasn't played for 10 years, so it's all good. But it is absolutely amazing what's happening in Ann Arbor. It's too bad, right? It's too bad.
Yeah.
Apparently, you guys love them, so I don't know.
Fair enough.
No, but they got two. I mean, you have 2 5-star quarterbacks in Harbaugh's backyard, and he's going to go 0 for 2. It's crazy.
We hope. Don't. This segment's going to come back to bite us if Dante Moore goes to Michigan. I learned very early, like in 3rd grade, I would talk so much smack, and I learned that I would just end up eating it later. So I try to avoid it usually, at least in public settings, which is what this currently is. Anyways, Mike, can you please pull the tweet up? Thank you. So that's the thing I saw this week. Doesn't have to do with football. Has to do with women's basketball with the WNBA. So Notre Dame is sending more women's basketball players to the WNBA All-Star game than any other school. So you can see right there for podcast listeners. Arike Gumbawale, who plays for the Dallas Wings, Jackie Young, who plays for the Las Vegas Aces, Skylar Diggins-Smith, who plays for the Phoenix Mercury, and Jewel Lloyd, who plays for the Seattle Storm. All 4 of those are headed to the All-Star game. And also currently, I think, so Gumbawale is 3rd in the league in scoring, and Skylar Diggins-Smith is 5th. At one point, 3 Notre Dame players were the top 3 scorers in the WNBA. That is no longer the case, but I mean, they're all up there. They're all making an impact. And if you watch any of these games, there's more that are not on this list that I just read to you or that you have on your screen that are making a massive impact. So Notre Dame women's basketball is kind of becoming like the Alabama of the NFL, which is kind of cool to watch. Nice. So, yep.
I just want to note real quick. I mean, women's basketball coverage at Notre Dame, like it's big for us. Like Tyler Horka does a really nice job covering the beat. Lou Emoji for a long time did an amazing job, and I mean, yeah, we always had such good readership on his women's basketball stories. Rest in peace to the GOAT, Lou Emoji. Quick Lou Emoji story. I probably told this on the air before. Lou would post a women's basketball story. And I knew that it would be our top read story of the day because they just always were. I don't know, like we never got a ton of women's basketball discussion on our message board on Lou's stories, but the readership was always incredible. It just was. And Lou would call me and be like, "Hey, Mike," and I knew he was going to call me about every single. "Hey, Mike, I just posted this women's basketball story, but I don't want it to be in the top spot of our site. Can you bump it down so your football recruiting story can have the main slot?" This is when we're at Rivals. And I would say, "Sure, Lou." Every time, "Sure, Lou." I really never moved it. I mean, because I know that it was like the best story on our page. It was written by the freaking GOAT of Notre Dame athletics. So, yeah, he never would say anything about it. He'd never ask, "Hey, Mike, why didn't you move it?" I just didn't. Because he's freaking Lou Emoji. And again, rest in peace to the GOAT. That's my Lou story real quick.
Yeah, no, fair enough. He did a great job, and Tyler has taken over in his place and done a great job as well. Alrighty. So before we get to the commitment that happened just under an hour ago, again, if you have just joined us, make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening back via podcast, leave us a review. And yeah, I'll plug our $1 deal while I'm here plugging things. We still have our $1 deal up on our site. And it's the end of recruiting season. We're going to get into in a second, the several commitments that are, the commitments that are happening. They could potentially go to Notre Dame. They're all Notre Dame targets in the next few days. And then we also, as we approach fall camp, we'll have a lot of insight on that front. So it's a good time to sign up, and that will not be available forever. So perfect. All right. On that topic, the news of the night is Cam Williams, as we mentioned at the top of the show, is now committed to Notre Dame. He is a consensus top 100 player. You can see, if you're watching this right now, you can see it on your screen. If you're listening back via podcast, he's the number 75 player nationally in the 2024 class, number 12 wide receiver, and number 2 player out of the state of Illinois from the Chicago area. I know Mike and I saw him at the Irish Invasion camp just under a month ago. It was June 5th, and we named him one of our top offensive performers. He stuck out. Like he looked really good. He looked very ready to play college football. He's a little skinnier, but so are all of them. They're rising juniors, but looked like kind of your prototypical boundary type receiver. So I was a big fan. Mike, I know you've covered his recruitment, and then we'll pass it over to Tim to do a little film analysis. Mike, what are you thinking? And I know you talked with Cam, so what do you have to share on that front?
He's awesome, man. He's an awesome kid. His high school coach raves about him. Just a super young man, and a really nice football player as well. I think he's got a really nice combination of a high floor with a high ceiling. He's already a pretty polished receiver, and that's where the high floor, what that means. And then the ceiling is, when I talked to Charles Power at On3, our scouting director, about this, and he said, a lot on his sophomore film, he would let the ball come towards his body. But I sent Charles the clips I took of Cam from the Irish Invasion. He's like, I saw a lot more of him going out and extending and getting the football. So he definitely likes some of that. I did want to mention real quick, so we had this question on the message board for YouTube audience. If you're looking at these rankings on the page, On3 is a number 136 player nationally, 24/7 is 178, Rivals 104. Then how the heck does that compute to the On3 consensus having him as a 75 player? Doesn't make sense, right? That's what my initial reaction was when I started learning about these composite consensus rankings. It's the average of those three. There's no big outlier. If one of these sites has him as a 3-star, then that would be a big outlier. But because the average of those three rankings are not a big difference from 104 to 178, when you put his average compared to other players' average, it's higher. One player might be a top 50 player, like Jack Larson, top 50 according to 24/7, but then you got On3 and Rivals have him as a 3-star. So there's a big disparity. So I hope that makes sense for those wondering about the rankings. And then, as far as his recruitment, grew up a Michigan fan, Notre Dame offered, visited Notre Dame, loved Notre Dame, committed to Notre Dame. There you go. Tim.
Great time.
There you go.
You mentioned all the, obviously we've been talking a lot about the lovely Wolverines from up north, but what really swayed them? During this whole, the month before Irish Invasion and whatnot, was it CJ Carr?
I think CJ was a factor, but I've always been one of the guys who doesn't think that, another recruit is a deciding factor. I might be changing that tune based on what I've seen from Arch Manning, because they're just picking up receiver commitments left and right down in Austin. So but I do think CJ Carr has an impact. It's definitely a selling point. But when I asked Cam about why he committed to Notre Dame, CJ didn't come up, so it's not a deciding factor. But it's I was talking to his coach, and he said because his coach visited with Cam for these clips that we're seeing here, this Irish Invasion plus a visit. He just said he was walking around campus. He said this just feels different. Notre Dame fans, you know the Lou Holtz quote for I'm gonna butcher it.
I got it. You want it?
Sure.
It's, for those who know it, no explanations necessary. For those who don't, no explanation will suffice.
Exactly. Cam Williams clicked with Notre Dame. He got it. The coaching staff did a really nice job. Tommy Rees, Marcus Freeman, Chanse Stuckey, Chad Bowden, even Delane McCullough, who offered him when he was at Indiana's running backs coach. They just did a really nice job, Tim.
I
No,
was also going to say, oh, sorry, Mike. I mean,
no,
go
I was
ahead,
going to
Ash.
say, so going back to Irish Invasion, that weekend was huge for him. It from what it sounds like, because it flipped on a dime, right away after that, which is obviously exciting as could be. So he's dynamic. I mean, you look at his body. I mean, he has really grown since his sophomore film going into his junior year there at Irish Invasion. Dude's packed on some muscles, and I could see. It's funny you mentioned what Charles Power was talking about, and that was some of the stuff I noticed as well too, where he catches the ball and all that. But I think a lot of that is his quarterback as well. So on some of those deep balls and the fades, and especially some of the quick line passes, it's just the way he had to catch it there. But that last one, the way he turns and it drops right into him is awesome. So he's a good get. I mean, we talked about this before, Mike. He's super talented. You get a heck of a football player out of Chicago. I think he's got some, electric, speed to him as he's going to keep developing. Me personally, I think he's going to get attacked on the recruiting trail. Even though he's committed to ND, people are going to come after him, especially those Southern schools, because he's a darn good football player. It's only going to get better. And it looks like his body's really, really going to grow. I mean, he looks like a guy who's going to be a 205 pound, wide receiver and carry that weight with ease.
Yeah, he definitely does. That was brought up on his commitment on CBS Sports. They spent not a lot of time, but a couple minutes talking about how he could end up being 200, 205, 210, whatever.
Yeah.
I was going to add on the topic of Chanse Stuckey, Mike, when we saw him on June 5th at Irish Invasion, his relationship with Stuckey, they're kind of like acting like old friends, They were laughing, they were smiling. Of course, when it came time to coach him, obviously Chanse Stuckey was constructively coaching him, but I don't know that I've seen from the other camps that I went to at Notre Dame. I don't know that I've seen as like tight of a relationship. Maybe CJ Carr, there's that video of him with Marcus Freeman tapping him on the shoulder and whatever. But it definitely stuck out to me from like the relationship building side of it, I guess, that it seemed that Cam was really happy to be there. So any other Cam Williams? Go ahead.
No. I mean, great point right there. I just wanted to just keep chatting about that. Ashton is Stuckey, and want to throw this over to Mike as well. We've heard a lot about Coach Stuckey and and his relationships, and I mean, there's so much love with him when you talk to the players. Is it that NFL? I'm curious because he's doing a heck of a job, and he's going to blow up 2024 from what it sounds like as well. Is it that NFL pedigree? Is it he's also got life experience. He hasn't been in the football world. He's done so much stuff on the outside. Is it that NFL experience? No. He's been there.
It helps. It helps. It's about him as a person, him as a human being. Like, my playing days at Clemson and the NFL and all, it helps. But a lot of receiver coaches played in the NFL and in college, obviously. That's basically all of them.
Yeah.
It's not that. It is him as a human being. He is a special person. Like, he just is. I am a huge believer in Chanse Stuckey. Like, I think he is a rock star. If Notre Dame keeps him for more than 2 years, you say more Hail Marys. Like, this guy is a stud in the profession. I mean, just think about, and look, I was one of the guys who was very glass half full on Del Alexander. I was wrong, because Chanse Stuckey is just recruiting lights out, and it's like, Del, why weren't you doing that? I mean, Del still had some pretty good classes, right? I mean, the Deion Colsey, Lorenzo Styles class, that certainly sticks out. At the time, Jordan Johnson, Xavier Watts, Jay Brunell, that seemed like a rock star class too. But it's just a different level right now, which I think kind of leads us into our next segment, Ashton, with receivers who are, potentially, well, at least one who we know is going to commit soon. I mean, I added this in an article, and I even did a newsstand article at this on Blue and Gold. It's like I did a look at the 2024 targets, and there's like 7 or 8 guys. It's like, I could see Notre Dame winning that recruitment, and they're all very talented.
Yes.
Yeah, before we move to that next segment, on the topic of like Chanse Stuckey's character or whatever, if you haven't read Tyler Horka's piece on Chanse Stuckey, I don't remember the exact title, but if you Google like Chanse Stuckey, Tyler Horka, you might be able to find it. Like, I don't know if you can find it really quickly, but basically Tyler did this deep dive on his background, talked to Dabo Sweeney himself about Chanse Stuckey, talked to a million people, and it was one of the better articles that I've ever read, kind of from like a featurey, like human interest point. Obviously there's the football component, but there you go. Perfect. So if you're listening back via podcast, it's called A Rocket Ship, that's in quotes, and it's how Clemson and Dabo Sweeney helped Chanse Stuckey get to Notre Dame. So you should definitely go check that out if you have not already. And with that, we can move into our next segment. Like Mike said, there's a wide receiver involved here. So basically, big picture, over the next 5 days, I guess, 6 days, whatever, there are 4 Notre Dame targets that are committing. I'll run through them quickly and then we can talk about them. So tomorrow, June 30th, we're taping this, it's Wednesday night. So tomorrow, June 30th, offensive tackle Charles Jagasaw. Friday, July 1st, cornerback Micah Bell. Sunday, July 3rd, wide receiver Rico Flores, and Monday, July 4th, cornerback Christian Gray. Those 4 are all 2023 players. Cam Williams is 24, but these guys are all 23, and they're all consensus 4 stars. Jagasaw is a 5-star from On3's own rankings, but yeah, so these are a lot of high-level picks. They're all top 200, I believe, consensus-wise. All consensus 4 stars, so big targets. Mike, of the 4, I know you've been following their recruitments and talking with them throughout them. Of the 4, kind of what are you thinking? Who are you the most high on, I guess, of those 4? Mike, I think you're muted.
I always am. I don't even know. Yeah. I don't even remember muting myself.
I was gonna say, why are you muted?
I blame Tim.
Yeah. That's
sometimes I burp, and that's why. No one needs to hear that. But I blame Tim. I mean, who I'm the most high on? That's really tough between Charles Jagasaw and Christian Gray because I think they're both freak shows. That's I mean that.
It's easy.
Yes, Tim.
Christian Gray. It's easy. If you're ranking a top 4 need down the road,
yeah,
instant impact. As much as I love O-line, and you know that, I'll always hype them up way too much. It's Christian Gray. Yeah, exactly. It's Christian Gray. It's Christian Gray. I mean, you especially when you look at his finalists in the schools that have been on him so hard. I know USC's been recruiting the living heck out of him. Obviously, we know about Mike's good buddy, Bayou Brian, and his boys down there. I just love when you say Bayou Brian. It's the best. And yeah, Christian Gray for me. So sorry if I cut him, but that's my number 1.
Yeah, the need component.
But you've seen him live, Mike, and he's long. He's got a little. I mean, he looks and plays bigger than 5'11". He looks long in the 7-on-7 clips I've seen him.
Tim, here's a question. If you remove the Notre Dame roster context of those 4, who do you think can be the best college football player?
Oh, out of those 4?
Yeah. Like, does your answer change if you don't talk about, like, the fact that Notre Dame needs an instant impact corner?
Oh, yeah. And I'm not saying that. I mean, that's nothing negative against Christian Gray. He's good. I mean,
I know.
Me and Mike have talked about this a ton. Notre Dame does not get top 100 DBs.
Yeah.
And Christian Gray is a consensus top 100 DB. So he is a rarity. He's a unicorn at Notre Dame the last 20 years. There's only been 5 or 6 of them ranked in the top 100.
If you haven't listened to our recent shows, we've done multiple deep dives on Notre Dame's inability to get corners to sign, and it seems like it might go back like 5 years. It goes back like my entire lifetime, which is incredibly unfortunate. But
if you're talking NFL with these 4,
like pure talent, independent of what Notre Dame needs,
it's got to be Jagasaw.
It's got to be Charles, man. He's just a mauler. I mean, he looks like a dude that could play in the NFL. You'll never hear from him. He plays 13 years, goes to 5 Pro Bowls, and he's just a quiet dude, just mauling people for a dozen years. He just has that type of mentality and that instinct once he gets into the Notre Dame program after a couple of years.
So Jagasaw is committing tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
We don't know
Noon.
really what time. There's
Isn't
no
it noon?
stream for it. He's just
It's
he's sending out a tweet.
Wait,
I
isn't it noon? Didn't
No.
somebody like dig that up in the depths of the internet and figure out that it's actually noon, even
No.
though this kid didn't announce? No.
No.
He's got to put a note on his doorstep. Watch.
I'm pretty sure he's sending this out via like pigeon mail to everyone that he like.
It'd be like Arch. The way that Arch committed, Arch just sent out a single tweet.
Oh,
Nobody did anything.
his
Arch
first
has
tweet.
never tweeted before and just tweeted like hook 'em, and everyone was like, "Oh, okay."
I freaking love it. I mean, there's.
Oh, I know.
nothing
I
wrong-
did too. I loved it.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with the streams. Like, it's your moment. But there's
Sure.
something in my heart, especially for an offensive lineman, to just be super low key. This is going back a while, but Calvin Ridley, who's Alabama receiver, plays now for the Falcons. All of his offer tweets were just Alabama offered, LSU offered, Notre Dame. You know, like it was just like that. I love the simplicity and of this, like Brendan Vernon, who I talked about earlier. He ain't doing no interviews. He don't care about that crap. Like there's something to this aspect that I love, especially with an offensive lineman. No nonsense. Just tweet it out and it's done.
I think Charles is going to put up his like the 4 flags in his bedroom window, and then the last one standing is just going to be his shades. So that's going to be that'll be a perfect offensive lineman commitment video right there.
If he committed to Notre Dame, he could do. This is going to show how good of a Catholic I am. He could do the way that the Pope's like announced with like the smoke. That'd be a good one if you're going to commit to Notre Dame. Someone in the chat can put in exactly how the Pope's elected. I knew that at one point in my life and just don't anymore. Sorry. But that'd be a good way to do it. Silent, very silent. Yes.
We kind of got off the rails there.
Yeah,
I know.
all good.
I love it though.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay. So I can't go through really quickly the recruitments.
Yeah.
So again,
fine.
Charles Jagusah some point Thursday morning. If you're listening via podcast, he's probably already committed. So go to blueandgold.com, see where he ended up. It's going to be Notre Dame or Michigan. I like Notre Dame. I put in a pick for him to land with the Irish back on New Year's Day, and I ain't changing it. I mean, I wouldn't change it anyways if they were this close, but yeah, I'm sticking with the Irish. Micah Bell, another guy who I don't think is doing a stream, just fired out. Freaking love that.
Love it.
Yeah. Notre Dame, Texas, Ole Miss, Baylor, Houston. I don't really know who's second, but I do like Notre Dame for him on July 1st? Yeah, July 1st, Friday.
July 1st, yes,
I think it's 6 p.m. Eastern.
Right.
Rico Flores, who I'm curious, Tim, if you can give me a quick take if you're familiar with Rico Flores' game. Do you think it's pretty comparable to CJ Williams from last year's class?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was message boarding back and forth with a bunch of people who thought I was being too negative, and I was like, "Well, CJ Williams, is a heck of a football player."
Love CJ Williams.
Yes, I think he's very comparable. That same type of body, same type of athleticism,
super high floor, super.
If people don't know Folsom, it's a high end passing school. Big time. I mean, that's where Browning, who went to Washington, started for 4 years, is from. Great high school, second or third best Northern California program.
Yeah.
High end football. So yeah, Rico Flores is good. And, his recruitment's interesting because is he falling in the lap of Notre Dame and whatnot, which if that happens, so be it. Right.
You're right.
That happens sometimes in recruiting. It's got to go somewhere. And there's only so many places. And if Notre Dame is able to land him because there's just not room with the mighty Buckeyes and the Bulldogs, so be it. They're getting a heck of a football player.
Yeah. It's Notre Dame's gain. I mean, I don't think the Irish can be like, well, Georgia and Ohio State didn't want him. We don't want him either. No, this kid's really good. Just Ohio State. I'm not as familiar with Georgia's receiver class. But Ohio State's put together just a
and real quick on Rico, Mike, you and I have talked multiple times about the rankings where the majority of Notre Dame NFL guys over the last, during the Brian Kelly years have all been in those 20s. They've been that 25 to 35 ranking when you look at a lot of, Boykin, Claypool, on and on and on, so many of these guys that they've had. So it's very comparable to a lot of really good football players that they've had at Notre Dame in the last decade.
Yeah.
Also with Oh,
I'm sorry.
sorry.
Ashton, go ahead, Ashton.
I was just gonna say with wide receivers, like you look at the 28, and some people like balk at that, but it's not like he's a number 28 quarterback where everyone's taking one. Like you
Yeah.
can, every school's taking in theory like 2, 3, 4 wide receivers a class.
Yep.
If you can get one in the top 28, like that's huge. That's a huge pull.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
something Tim and I have talked about a good bit. It's
Yeah.
like the number one center in the class, that sounds really nice on paper, but like that's not a big deal. Like the number one center, I mean, like you don't really want to be the number one center because that means you're probably not a guard or attacker. You're pigeonholed to center.
Yeah.
But the number 45 receiver in the country or something, like, yeah, that's still really good because
Right.
there are receivers everywhere, and they are, yeah, they're
I mean, three quarters of America now runs 3-4 wide receiver
Yeah.
offenses.
They're
If that
everywhere.
high, that might be a little outlandish, but easily.
Not really
yeah.
though. That's like kind of close. You're
Well,
not that far off base.
there's still some single wing dudes out there, believe me, that will pound that
But
rock thinking they're
you were,
Frank
yeah.
Leahy. But no, but I mean, it is high. So you're thinking thousands and thousands of wide receivers, and you're getting a guy who's ranked in the top 50, top 30. That's
Right.
he's a dude, especially the high school he's coming from.
Yeah.
And then the last player here is Christian Gray, Independence Day. I think it's around, Flores is July 3rd, somewhere around 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern.
Sounds
And
right.
Christian Gray is around 5 or 6 Eastern on Independence Day. I like Notre Dame for all these guys. How crazy would it be if they go 5 for 5 here on these commitments from Wednesday, June 29th to July 4th? So that's what, 5 days? If they go, 6 days. If they go 5
days.
commitments.
There's no one on the second.
Yeah, no one on the second. Thank the Lord.
It's free if Jason Moore wants to commit. Jason Moore, if you're watching this and you'd like to commit to Notre Dame, July 2nd is free. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we'll take it.
Please, I mean, I won't take it. Crap, I want a day off. I got crap to do. But
It's fair.
But for Notre Dame Nation, I will grant it.
Thank you.
But yeah, pretty good
Yeah,
here.
good
So if Notre Dame goes, it's 5 more 23 guys announcing here.
4.
4. So
It's
they're
5
at,
and 6 days, 124, 423s.
so they're at 15 commits, and if they had Jagisaw, Bell, Gray, and Flores get to 19, yeah, that's class is starting to fill up. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a class of 25. I think is when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Just the numbers, they could definitely get 25 easy. But
Yeah.
real interesting with the rankings. Obviously, Notre Dame fans are probably seeing out there on Twitter how schools are passing them and whatnot. But you get Jagasaw and you get Gray, 2 top 100s. Be curious to see how that bounces ND in there with 2 top 100 type guys. It's going to be this thing is going to be about. Look how close it is. Notre Dame down here to Clemson. I know no one thinks Dabo knows how to recruit, but there you go. It is a battle between like 1 and 8 are all within like a point.
Yeah, and the big thing that sticks out to me, if you're looking at this, Alabama's sitting at 4th, but they have 9 commits. So like Nick Saban's about to roll in here like September 15th with 8 more 5 stars and just run over everybody. So I know that we talked about how this is kind of weighted. It's based on quality, not quantity, but there's a reason Alabama has 9 players. They are not going to finish with anywhere near 9 players.
Yeah, they always. Yeah, them and Georgia
Run in the
always.
last second.
Well, it's because a lot of the 5 stars can wait. They do wait until national signing day because they can, and then they end up picking Alabama or Georgia. So
right
during these off-season discussions, we always will talk about
top 5.
Top 5. Can Notre Dame do it? And I've been of the opinion, I don't know. I think 4 is the ceiling, and my projection has been about 5 or 6. It's like, oh no, Mike, when they get this guy and this guy and this guy, I'm like, yeah, well, Alabama's getting this guy, this guy, and this guy. So Texas A&M is also a really interesting one. Let's see where they are at. 13 with 5 commitments.
Yeah.
So
spent their money last year. They spent their money too quick.
So when you have a lower amount of commitments under the rolling average, you get docked a good bit. I personally feel like you should get docked more, but it's a different discussion for a different day. But you got to think, Georgia and Alabama are locks in there. Ohio State and Texas, it's going to be pretty tough for Notre Dame to overtake those 2 teams.
Yeah.
So then you're looking at, can they stay at number 5? But then you got A&M, Clemson,
SC.
obviously Michigan. I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
SC.
USC
Oregon.
maybe,
Oregon.
Oregon. So that's why I've been saying I think it's going to be tough for Notre Dame to get a top 5 class.
Yeah.
So a top 5 class. Let me throw a little wrench in this thing. CJ Carr. CJ Carr reclassifies. What
If
what
big
what's
if.
your
If Tim loves
big,
this storyline.
big if, but it sounds like he's going through at least the process to have the option to make a decision. But
This is true.
And by the way, he's the same. He's the exact. I mean, what is he? A couple hours apart from Dante Moore, so it's not like he's a 15-year-old sophomore. So
I don't know. They don't pay me enough to report on kids' ages.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
It's all out there. But if he did reclassify, it's like, where does he go? Because obviously he would be a 2023 quarterback. I actually just thought of that. I was chatting with someone today about that, so I'd be curious to see where he falls.
I think he'd be ranked a top 100 player for sure.
Yeah. If you're unfamiliar, CJ Carr, who's committed to Notre Dame in the 2024 class, there's a debate about whether or not he would reclassify because it seems as though Dante Moore is trending away from Notre Dame and toward Oregon in the recent days. All right, Mike, did you just pop a comment up on the screen that I missed?
Yeah, just a comment. Nothing we got to address.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So that concludes our recruiting talk for the day. If you joined us late, this will come out via podcast. You can also obviously watch it back here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe to this channel while you are with us. So moving to the current football team, the big, sad, unfortunate news last Friday morning. Jadarian Price, who is a freshman early enrollee running back. So he's 2022, but he arrived in January. He tore his Achilles during a workout last week, had surgery, but he will be out for the entirety of the 2022 season, which is a bummer for multiple reasons. First of all, he was really, really good this spring. He played really well in the spring game, and the coaching staff was really high on him. And then second of all, bigger picture. So Notre Dame has 5 scholarship running backs. He was one of them. Another one is Logan Diggs, who tore his labrum in the spring game. He more than likely is not out for the year, but the timeline on shoulder surgery is it's kind of weird. I've actually had labrum surgery. It's around 6 months, but you can typically, it can take a little while longer for certain people. So anyways, the timeline on that I think is late September is kind of what Marcus Freeman's looking at. But again, that's not a hard deadline. Nobody come back to us October 1st if he is not in the lineup. But yeah, so they only have 3. So it's Chris Tyree, Jabron Payne, who is a freshman, not early enrollee, and then Audric Estime, who is a rising sophomore. So Tim, I'll send this over to you. What do you think either about the 2 that are injured or the 3 that we have, or whatever combination of the 2 topics you'd like to put together?
Well, the 2 that are injured, get on back as soon as you can. It's more about, it's more, as a coach, you're just like, all right, I got to play the guys I have. So the guys he has, you got to get ready for the Buckeyes. There's no rest period. You don't get UNLV, Cal, the prep, Nevada back in the heyday, those types of games. It's gonna be interesting. And so there's so many dominoes off of this thing. You got, Tyree. Is his load gonna be? Can he be a 20 carry guy? He's never done it at ND. On top of Tyree, what's that?
They said Andy's injury prone.
He's been injury prone, but then he's also your best return guy. So do you risk him the return, as well? Or you're like, hey, this is our number 1 guy. We'll go put someone else back there to have him return kicks. But Chris Tyree so fast, as we saw in the Wisconsin game, he's going to change the game in a 10-second run real quick. So, I know everyone's high on Estime, but Estime went into the spring game as the 4th back. You had Tyree, Diggs, and Price. From what reading the reports and hearing about the coaches, they talk a heck of a lot more about him than Estime. So Estime goes from 4 to 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
and thank God, Coach McCullough knew a running back out there and went and got a guy to bring in there, the third. So, my first thought, real quick, when I heard this was, I thought of Marcus Freeman, because Marcus Freeman wants to play physical football. Marcus Freeman had a high energy bull practice last year. Their spring ball was extremely physical. When you hear the kids talk about it, he wants to
Yeah.
be a physical football team. How much banging are you going to do in August getting ready for Ohio State? Because one knickknack, something goes wrong, Payne's your starter. So
Yeah.
it's a tough break. It's a tough break because that running back room, and you go from 5 to 3 in an instant. It's going to be tough. So
This is a question that I just thought of. Who would be the most likely candidate to do a little Avery Davis position switching if they were to try to move someone to running back? That can go to either one of you.
real quick, I'll take that. Well, as
Yeah.
far I wouldn't say so much move someone to running back. It would be, just the motions, shifts, misdirection, getting the Buckeyes to use their eyes more with Lindsey and Lorenzo Styles. I think those
Yeah.
two become
Yeah.
a bigger factor with just, like I said, the motions, the movements, because those two guys are so athletic and so quick. Get them the ball doing some stuff differently. And then does this mean you're going to be a true 12 type of a personnel team? So you only have to worry about one one running back. Because the rumor was always Diggs, Chris Tyree in the same backfield, the same time coming into this year. Do you just kind of scrap that and what's that going to put? And what's the pressure that's going to put on Buckner? Because are you, unless you're just going to let him run, you're going to run a true zone read where he's the second running back and you're always reading that backside end. That inside crashes, you keep it. Are they going to do that? That's going to
Buckner's
be.
also
I hope they
injury
don't,
prone.
because if he breaks
Exactly.
his ankle, then Drew Pine is playing this entire season, and I
Yeah.
simply cannot watch Drew Pine play against the Clemson defense. I will die. I can't watch it. It would be terrible.
I have
That's
no
a
offense
long
to
way
Pine.
away. That's a
Great,
long
but
way
I can't
away.
watch it. What?
I have some
No, I was
thoughts.
going to say that's a long way away. The Clemson game. Let's don't even think of that defense. But no,
I try
great
not
point.
to. Mike, what's
Great
up?
point.
Well, one, you hope Logan Diggs gets back soon. That's for
Well,
sure.
yes.
Um,
Obviously.
a source had told me, and I even did a story on this a couple months back after spring balls. Like, I was talking to a source, like, give me like 2 offensive players, 2 defensive players who were the like true freshmen, early enrollees who impressed the most, and it was Steve Angeli.
Is that why you brought this up? Solely
No,
to talk about Steve Angeli?
no, and Jadarian Price, and
Yeah.
quote. Price is the future of the running backs. Like Notre Dame folks at Notre Dame absolutely love Jadarian Price. Then on defense, it was Tui Halamaka and Jaden Mickey.
Yeah, that checks out. But I was going to say, Brian Mason also loves Price. He was in contention to return punts with Brandon Joseph, Matt Salerno, and Jaden Mickey. But yeah, when we asked Brian Mason this spring about the return game, he was super excited about Price and his ability to get upfield with as few cuts as possible.
Yes.
Which I think that we all loved Kyron Williams, but Kyron Williams would dance a little bit. I think that Price is apparently doing less of that, which would be nice from a fan standpoint.
So
Tim, did you want to?
No, I go before Tim. Screw Tim.
Go ahead.
I'm just kidding, Tim. I love
Shut
you.
up.
Going back to the original question, Lorenzo Styles played some running back, mostly his senior. He played a good bit of running back, so I do like that. I remember seeing him his junior year, taking a jet sweep too. I was at his game. He was playing down in Georgia, and he took a jet sweep to the house. It was very nice. Osita Ekwonu doesn't really seem like he's going to be breaking into any rotation on defense. So, and I believe he come in at running back and then got moved to defense. So maybe he could move back to offense. And I don't think he's going to play a lot on defense.
He was a linebacker.
Did he come in at running back?
No,
did he come in
as
at
a
running back,
but
or did he just play it?
I don't know. I hope he did. Or look like an
He
idiot.
has he has a running back background. I can't remember if he came in as a running back or if he just played it in high school and then came in as a linebacker. I don't know. But yeah, that was somebody dropped that Osita Ekwonu on our board. He obviously comes from a very athletic family. His brother was just taken 5th overall in the draft, 6th.
Listed at 6 foot 236, so he'd be a bruiser.
All right, so you put Estime in the slot. It's not going to work friends. We need Logan Diggs to come back. Or we
No,
need
Price.
Chris Tyree to not break his foot for the 7th time.
No, losing Price is a biggie, as Mike said, talking to the guys, and his speed, his cut, which you mentioned, Ashton, in the spring game on some of those plays, he shows it. The dude has some wheels. His senior highlight film is electric.
Yeah.
He was kind of a forgotten man in last year's recruiting class, especially in the nationally ranked running backs. He's legit. He's no slouch, and he could cut and go, and it's a big loss. And I just thought real quick in the Garage podcast where Cam Hart was talking about, like, the freshmen are like blowing up. They're all over the place. These young guys are getting reps. I mean, they're just getting reps like crazy. And that was I thought a Price is a freshman who's gonna miss out. It stinks.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of long term too. An Achilles injury is not easy to come back from. Logan, I mean, you don't want to like dismiss a shoulder injury to Logan Diggs, but obviously if you're a running back, you need your legs more than you need your arms typically. All right. Any further comments on the running back room, or are we good here, friends? We're good? Awesome. Well, that concludes. Oh, Rick just went from linebacker to running back to Viper. Okay. So we were close. That works. Yes. Right. So
it's rare.
Yes. All right. So we are done here. Thank you for joining us. Before you hop off, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. If you're listening back via podcast, leave us a review, and I'll be out next week. I don't know what our plan is, but we might be back next week. We might not. I don't know. We'll be back when we're back. That's kind of my thought process.
I think me and Tim, if you're around, we'll go next Wednesday.
I'm around. I'm always around.
They'll be back next Wednesday. I will be on a North Carolina beach.
Oh, nice. I forgot to say this last week. We missed last week because Tim was out, and Ashton and I kind of need the night off, so we just kind of took off last Wednesday for the show.
Yeah,
but
that's an understanding.
Tim and I will plan on next Wednesday night.
Oh, all right. Real quick.
Yes, Tim.
Tell them why you needed a break. Order the yearbook.
What?
I believe that.
Break. Plug the yearbook. Yearbook.
Oh.
I think we actually sold out of our football preview.
Yeah, we did.
Really?
That's awesome. That's a good problem to have.
Yes.
Okay.
But digital copies, I think, at bluegoldonline.com you can pick up. So
awesome.
You can pick up. How would you pick it up? You can log in and read it.
Yeah, you just you
I don't know.
You pick it up from your computer screen and you.
With that, we are gonna leave. Have a lovely night. Thank you for joining us.